So welcome back to the channel guys and another chess video. Today in this video I'm going to show you one of my game which I just played a few minutes ago and which I got my queen trapped, but I recaptured my opponent's queen just a few moves later, and my attack was so powerful that my opponent had to give up his queen and he resigned after a few after a move or two after I recaptured his queen. Because I was up the exchange, I was up a piece or two, and so he resigned. And in this game I was playing with the white pieces. I started off with e4. My opponent replied with f6. So as you can see, I don't really know the name of this opening. This is some kind of a flank opening, just like the English, but I really don't know. Now I grabbed the center with d4. My opponent played c6. Now the problem I find with his opening is that uh, his opening hampers the development of both the king's knight and the queen's knight. So it's my completely my opinion. So I played f4, grabbing the center. My opponent striked in the center with d5. I just defended with knight to c3. My opponent plays e6 and opening up the diagonal for his dark squared bishop. Now I just developed my bishop on e3. Meanwhile he played bishop to b4, pinning my knight. I just developed another bishop on d3. He took my knight by playing bishop takes on c3 check, and I recaptured by playing b takes on c3. Now I don't think this trade was really good, because generally the trade of a bishop for a knight is not recommended, because bishop is a long range piece, and in this position in this game his dark squared bishop was far active than his light squared bishop, because most of his pawns were on light squares. So this trade was really bad for him. Anyways, I played b takes on c3, and after that she played knight to e7. I just developed my knight on f3. She played queen to a5. He quickly targets my doubled pawn weakness on the c file, especially the c3 pawn. I defended the pawn with queen to d2. My opponent played a6, and uh, I just castled king side now. And my opponent started the king side attack with h5. I just played e5, and as you can see, the condition of my dark squared bishop too was quite miserable. Anyways, my opponent closes the center with f5, and now I played knight to g5. The reason I wanted to play knight to g5 is to stop the advance of his g pawn, so he cannot get pawn breaks anytime. uh, uh, he cannot get pawn breaks easily, so he just pushed h4, and I played bishop to f2, targeting his overextended h4 pawn. Now he retreats his queen to d8. I just played h3, preventing any kind of h3 from him, and now he developed his knight on d7. I quickly grabbed the pawn on e6 by playing knight takes on e6 and also attacking the queen. Now only safe squares for the queen were either a5 or b6. He played queen to b6. I retreated my knight to g5. He played knight to g6. Now I played bishop to e3, additionally supporting the f4 pawn. He plays knight d to f8. I played rook a to b1 attacking the queen. Queen moves to c7. Now we have c4 on the board trying to get pawn breaks. He declines it and instead plays knight to e6. Now we both traded knights and I closed the position with c5. And now my dark squared bishop is quite miserable here. Same with my light squared bishop, because my light squared bishop, even though most of my pawns are on dark squares, my light squared bishop also cannot go anywhere. Now he played b5, and in this position I wanted to create something, so I captured en passant by playing c takes on b6 attacking the queen. Queen moves to b7. I played a4, preparing for the a5 move to support the b6 pawn pass, which is also a passed pawn. He declines everything by playing a5. I played queen to c3. He plays knight to e7. Now I played queen to c5. Now he played king to d7. This is where the fun begins. I just played queen to d6 check. He played king to e8. I grabbed his bishop thinking that it was a free bishop, but no, it was not. And after rook to h6, my queen got trapped. And I captured his rook instead with my queen. And in this position I thought for almost 42 seconds before playing queen takes on h6. He got my queen trapped. He captured my queen now. And now I played c4, also continuing my attack. He played king to f7. Now I pushed c5. The point of c5 was to close the center, close up the position, so none of his pieces can penetrate. And now in this position my light squared bishop was doing quite a great job. It was controlling the a6 square, so none of my opponent's rook or queen can get there. Now he played knight to g6, trying to create some counterplay. I grabbed the f5 pawn by playing bishop takes on f5. My opponent plays knight to e7, immediately attacks my bishop. I retreated my bishop to d3 again. My opponent played knight to c8. I just pushed f5. Now these two dangerous passers will be showing the fate of the game. My opponent played knight to e7. I played e6 check. He played king to f6. I grabbed another pawn by playing knight bishop takes on h6. He played rook to g8. Now I played bishop to f4 and I lost my f5 pawn. He just played knight takes on f5. But now I played bishop to e5 check and I sacrificed another pawn. I took his knight by playing bishop takes on f5 check. He can only move the king. None of the bishops are going to be captured. So he moves the king to e7. I continued my attack with bishop to d6 check. He played king to e8. Now another rook comes into play, rook b to e1 check. He played king to d8. Now I played bishop to c7 check, and in this position my opponent was forced to give up his queen because there was no other way to save the check rather than capturing the bishop. And after he played queen takes on c7, I played b takes on c7 check. He played king takes on c7, and after I played rook to e7 check, my opponent resigned the game as there is nothing much to be done here. I had an extra rook I had an extra bishop and my position was completely winning. Opponent had no compensation, so he resigned in this position. I was up 9 points and I won the game. So thanks for watching guys. See you in the next video.